Hello everyone, my name is Amanda and welcome back to another video of the Plenty Mandy. Alright, so today we're gonna do one of my favorite things when it's come to growing plants, which is propagation. So if you guys have seen my previous video, I actually did multiple videos on propagation. So I think I did one for water and one in moss. I also did a seed propagation, like growing plants from seed, and also air layering. So today we're gonna try something new. I am gonna propagate a plant from a node. Alright, so before we get started on the propagation method, we have to understand what is a node. So a node is essentially the spot at the plant set where the new growth coming from. So if I use this Monstera deliciosa apple variegata as an example, and make sure I said it right, you can see that the node is locating right here. So essentially it is where the new growth, like this stem and this leaf coming out from, and we can trace it back, and this is the node. So now, the difference between propagating from a node and propagating from a cutting is if I am telling you that I'm going to propagate from a cutting, I would have this whole thing to work with, meaning that I'll have the leaves, and then I'm going to go all the way down here, and then I'm going to cut it. So that would be what I'm working with for a cutting propagation. But if I'm going to propagate from a node, I won't have any of this leaf to work with. I would only have basically right this chunk right here. It's literally will be a stick to work with. And yeah, so I have done this experiments a couple of times with different plants, and I have great success from it. So I would love to share, how do I do that in case you're interested. And by the way, this is a result from my air layering propagation. If you're interested, I'm going to link it somewhere so you can check it out. But for now, let's do some node propagation. Okay, so let's talk about what we need. So first of all, you'll need a node, a healthy node. So this is just a philodendron heteroecium that I cut up, use it as an example. So as we discussed earlier, the node is where the new growth coming from. So essentially it's this like joint right here. I like to call it a joint. I don't know why. But yeah, so you need a healthy node. So remember, you always want to start with a healthy cutting. Because that would help you to increase the chance of successfully propagate a plant. So yep, so the first thing you need is a healthy node. Right? So after that, really similar to what I did in my moss propagation video, you will need some long fiber sphagnum moss. So the key for successful propagation, if you're gonna use moss, is you have to make sure that the moss is moist but not soggy wet. So meaning that, like, let's say I pick up this moss and if I squeeze it, there shouldn't be any water coming out. And let's say I use this as an example. If I have some moss right here, and then if I squeeze it, there's still water coming out, this is too wet. So you really want to like squeeze all the water out. Oh, this is the workout. To make sure that the moss doesn't retain any excess moisture, right? It's wet to the touch, but there's no water coming out. So this is the texture and the consistency you want. And obviously you'll need a container to put the moss and the node in. And I also showed this many times before. This is kind of my, favorite, box to use. And it's because they have this like vents, like the holes at the top already. So you can open it and close it. I always keep it open because you do want some airflow for the propagation to prevent rots or like, any kind of like bacteria grow and stuff like that. So yeah, but if you do not have or you do not want to spend money on buying a box, which is totally fine, you can use any kind of like to-go Tupperware, to-go food Tupperware, and then you just like poke some holes on it, and then you can use that. It's completely fine. So once you have your moist but not soggy moss ready, all you're gonna do is you're gonna put your healthy node cutting, and then you're gonna just place it on tops of the moss. And that's that. And you're gonna obviously close the box. I do use a heat mat, like I mentioned in my previous video as well. In order to promote root growth, heat or like a warmer temperature is really important. So essentially, you want to give your node a little bit higher temperature in comparison to your room temperature, and also some humidity, which will be achieved by keeping them in a box. So yep, so that's basically how I propagate a node. All right, let's talk about the pro and cons of node propagation. So obviously the pro is it's cheaper. So I don't know if you guys have purchased a node on eBay or on other website or from your friends or something, but it's generally a lot cheaper than buying a top cutting, especially for some more expensive aroid. So for example, I'm gonna use this as an example again because it's right next to me. So yeah, I would say if you want to buy like a top cutting, like including the leaves and all the way down here, it's probably gonna cost you a lot more than just buying, the chunk right here. So I have seen something that is like as cheap as maybe like 50 or 60 bucks US dollars for a chunk of node instead of, at least maybe 100-ish or even more for the whole top cutting. So obviously it's cheaper. And but there's also some disadvantage of propagating from a node. So number one, it could rot easily. So since you're not working with any leaves, and then you're gonna have to put this in a really high humidity environment, sometimes people would experience rot before their node actually propagate. And other thing is because you only have one node, unless you have like a branch or stem with multiple nodes. So since you most of the time only have one node, so you only have one chance. So meaning that if that node or the stem rot, and the node is no good. So yep, so there's some pros and there's some cons. So before you decide to purchase a node to trial the experience, make sure that you understand the risks. And yeah. All right, so let's talk about the success rate. I will be honest with you, I haven't done like a tons of node propagation. So far I have done 1, 2, 3, and they are all successful. So it's 100%. It's 3 out of 3. So yeah, I want to show you different what are you looking for? What do you expect when you know that you actually successfully propagate a node? So let's start from the very beginning. So remember, I used a couple of the philodendron heteroecium node just to demonstrate. So I actually have this one right here. You see, remember we talked about the node is where the growth coming from, right? So this is the really good visual way to demonstrate it. So you can see the root, it's actually growing out from both nodes here. There's 2 nodes right here. So you can see. So this is basically how you know that your nodes start to grow. So yep, so that's one of them. I think I have, right here, I have another one that I can show you as well. So you can see like this guy also start to grow a new roots. So yeah, most of the time it's gonna grow out the roots first because the plant do need the roots to absorb nutrients and water and whatnot in order to produce vegetation, aka leaves. So yeah, so it's very what you're looking for is essentially the roots start to come out first, right? So the next one I want to show you what's gonna happen next. So I have this right here. I know. So this is what you normally would buy when you go online to buy a node. But this is a philodendron pink princess node that I got from one of my friends. And you can see, same thing as the heteroecium, like the root start to come out. And after the roots start to come out, you will see, ta-da! So this is a new leaves, vegetative growth. Start to come out right here. So this is how you know your propagation is successful so far. So yep, this is the next step. So now you got the root and then you got the new growth. So cute. Yay. Okay, perfect. So the next one I want to show you, we kind of jump a big step. So I have this, let me see if I can take this out. Yeah, I can. I have this Philodendron Histatum silver sword right here. So yeah, this guy is like all grown up. So you can see like, I start with this node right here with actually 2 growth on. So 2 nodes pretty much on the same stem. So you can see the roots came out and the leaves came out. It's really, really cute. I love this plant. So yep, so this is how the progression go. So this is another one of my node experiments. And last but not least, this is my absolute fave. I save it for the last. So this is another node that I try out with my silver sword. Oops, sorry, the lacquer. So yeah, so same thing. I have this stem, and then I have 2 growth on or 3 growth on as well. And then you can see the roots came out. And then I have this really beautiful leaves right here that came out. And guess what? Ta-da! It is starting. Whoops. Another leaf right here. Yay. So yeah, so that's, I just want to show you, this is pretty much how the progression would go when you propagate from a node. And yeah, like I said, you know, you want to look for the root growth first. And then once the root is, you know, it's had a certain level of like, have a certain level of strength, it will start giving you the leaf. And just make sure that you still want to monitor it like closely. Make sure that, you know, you don't give it like too much moisture, you don't drown it, you don't rot it. And yeah, and that's how you will get a new plant. All right, so that's all I have for you today. I just want to go over, you know, how to propagate with a node. Because I think it's a very fun experiment to do. Like, you don't necessarily have to like use expensive aroids node to experiment. I highly recommend you to just basically use any like pothos or any philodendron. Any plant that have really prominent node or aerial roots would be a great practice experiment to do before you actually go into some more expensive aroid. So for example, like instead of buying a elbow node, you can try to use a regular Monstera deliciosa node to practice first. And once you get comfortable with the method and the process, then you can invest in a little bit more expensive aroids such as you know, elbow or philodendron pink princess, queen anthurium, king anthurium, like anthurium bichii, you know, so you can have more fun. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope this is informative. And if you have any question at all, make sure that you leave it in the comment below. And if you have any experience in propagating from a node before, I would love to hear from you. If you want more future video, including this kind of propagation video, make sure you click subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!